Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 12 o'clock on Wednesday, our brand new Wednesday webinar series starts today. So thank you all so much for being here. The topic today is on Facebook marketing. So I'm guessing you're all interested in that, and that's why you're here. I want to share with everybody right off the bat that there has been some internet issues today in our area with everything that's going on. So I have had a few messages here through GoToWebinar that we've had a little bit of a weak signal, but I'm going to hope it hangs on through the webinar. But if you experience a little bit of audio issues, just know that it might be because of our connection. But we are recording this. We are going to send you the slide deck, so you're still going to get all the information. But just know that if we get a lag, it has been coming back very quickly. So we're hoping that is how things will go. So first of all, I want to start with just thanking all of our partners for this webinar. I am a board member with a chamber in Cabarrus County, and we have been doing these free webinars for members for a while, and they've been very successful. We found that members really appreciate the on-demand, where they can, instead of coming in person, be able to join from their computer on their lunch hour, but also if you're watching this recorded, that you can watch it on demand on your own time. It's really important to me as a small business owner that you have the time you need in order to get this information. But what has happened in the last week has truly been remarkable. I only know 3 of the organizations on this partner list, and most of these other chambers are new to me. And but I am so excited. When everything started happening with the coronavirus, we knew that we needed to find a way to connect with small businesses who are struggling and not sure what to do. I see this as an opportunity for you to really plug into your social media. Obviously, it's become the way we communicate right now, right? When we're all socially distancing and remotely working, it's more important than ever. So, my team quickly put together this webinar series, reached out through my dear friend Anissa Starnes with Swing Bridge Partners and her connections with some of the chambers to let folks know that we were going to be offering this series. And so, I am absolutely thrilled to welcome every single one of you, and especially these new chambers. I look forward to a continuing relationship with you, because this is just too important to keep the business community connected right now. Our local chamber does so much for our businesses every single day, and I just don't know what I'd do without them. So thank you all for being here and for partnering with us. So since I am new to many of you, my name is Lisa Perry, and that guy behind me is my husband, Brian. We have been in business together for 25 years, and we've been married for 26. And I love this picture because this is literally how we are in public. I'm the crazy one out front, and he is literally Mr. Behind the Scenes. So he is on the webinar. He is going to be over in the chat answering your questions. If he can't answer your question, we are actually going to hold those questions and answer them over in my Facebook group that I'm going to share with you later. So we want to make sure we get through all the content, but we want to continue the conversation over in our Facebook group called Social Media Success with Lisa Perry. And I have a slide with that in here. But this is just the beginning of education with us, because we put a lot of free resources out there. There's so much to talk about with Facebook. I hope that, like I said, you've seen our entire series that we have. We've got 5 more coming. They're going to be every single Wednesday at noon. Again, if you can't make it live, still register, and we'll send you the link to the playback and the slide deck. So you can take notes, and I encourage you to do that, but just know you're going to also receive a PDF with every single one of these slides. So encourage you to join me next week for LinkedIn, which is going to be lots of great information as well. And it's interesting to me, as much as people are interested in social media, Anyone who's ever worked with me knows that I push email marketing above all connections. And now more than ever, I think you need to be thinking about how do you use social media to grow your email list, because I shared this screen capture with you because every single one of you that registered for this probably did it from an email. And social media is great for amplifying your message, but when you have a true call to action, it's usually from an email. And so, I really hope you'll sign up, especially for that webinar, because I'm going to teach you how to grow your email list, how to use your email list, to stay connected. And in a time like this where you really want to turn something fast, it's wonderful when you have a strong list to spring off of. So let's get started. This is the agenda that I'm going to cover over the next hour. Like I said, there's so much happening with Facebook, and so many of you on this call even have different levels of experience with Facebook. So I tried to kind of cover a lot of different areas. They may not all pertain to you, but I always try to look at where Facebook's priorities are so that you can pretty much align your efforts with those priorities. And that's what I really try to do, where you should focus your energy, because a lot of small businesses don't have a ton of time to spend on social media. And so I always like to make sure you're educated in where you should be spending your time. So let's start with the Trinity, though. I was raised a good Catholic girl, and we always talked about the Trinity. But for me, it's a different spin on Trinity. It's the electronic Trinity. And really, the makeup of digital marketing for me over the years has been your website as your main hub. And that is where all of your information resides, and you use social media and email marketing to drive people to your website, but they all work together. So you use your website to get new people on your email list. You use social media to move people from Facebook or Instagram to your email, and you sell to them on your website. So these three things work together, and you really need all three of them to do business and to communicate with your audience. Now, each of them is used at different phases of your sales cycle. But I think it's important that you understand from the very beginning where social media falls in this trinity of digital marketing. And that's why I like to say we do more than social media. We do digital marketing. We do the whole package, because I find it hard to do one without the other. And like I said, that's part of what this entire series will cover. I've tried to cover every single piece of this so that you can make sure that you have all the elements that you need to do business. But what I want to start with is content creation, because I have a feeling that's what a lot of you are wondering right now is, what do I share? When do I post? Do I keep selling? I mean, the whole world is in disarray right now, to be honest with you. And I think that people just really aren't sure what to do. So I've tried to break that down over the next few slides, give you some suggestions of what I think you can be doing for now, kind of during the crisis, but then even what you can be developing now for after the crisis or further down the road, so that you really have a focus, because you may be floundering a little bit just trying to figure out, I don't want to create content that is not going to get used. So I hope today you can focus in a little bit with these suggestions. But number one, anytime where I talk about content creation with my clients, I say, get to know your audience. Think of them first, okay? You're developing content for them, not you. And what do I mean by that? Don't think of it as what you have to sell, what services you have to provide. Think about what their pain points are and how you can solve their problems. But you want them to be able to relate to you. And so if you just come in and say, I'm selling social media consulting and you need it, you're not really solving their problem. If you say, I know you're busy, I know you're strapped thin. I know that you're not sure what to post. Let me help you. And this is how I'm going to do it. Think about what their pain points are. What is their issue that they can't get past that you can solve for them? And when you develop content around that, you're more successful. And right now, I would say figure out what information or what part of your service you can give away for free. And by that I mean just content. You know, if you can develop blog articles and videos that give people a quick win that they can find success with, that's going to build know, like, and trust with you. Don't put it all behind, hey, you have to hire me and pay me before you get any of it. You have to build a relationship with them. In all honesty, that's kind of what I'm doing with you today. Is I'm saying, hey, I know that you need this information for your business to go forward. I want you to know, like, and trust me. And let's get through this crisis together. You're interviewing me. Does this lady know what she's talking about? Because someday down the road, you may need my services. But today, I know that this information is something that I can give away for free and build relationships with people to help them solve their problems. So you need to think about how you can do that in your own business. There's a lot of people on this webinar who have been to many, many, many of my webinars before, and we have a relationship. And I love that because those are the people who, if they've needed my services, I'm top of mind for them. And that's a great way, you know, to develop your business. So what should you be posting? Another thing I'd like for you to think about is in a few months, people aren't going to be thinking about what you sold to them. They're going to think about how you made them feel. Okay, so remember that while you're scared about your business or you're uncertain, what did you do to help people through this? Your potential customers, your potential clients, how did you make them feel? How do I hope you feel after today, after this webinar? Is I hope you feel confident and hopeful and more knowledgeable and a little more calm about how you're going to take your next steps with your digital marketing. I hope you feel supported and encouraged. That is everything that I took into account today when I put this presentation together. And so, as you're thinking about your content, keep those things in mind. What is it that you have to offer, and how can you make somebody feel after they're interacting with you? So let's look at the short term. What should you be posting? And I'm talking about like the near future, while this crisis is going on. If you had a content strategy, reevaluate it. If you were planning on doing posts that you created 2 months ago, is it still sensitive to the current situation? You don't want to be launching things that people are going to be like, what is that? You know, because it looks like it was drafted and scheduled a month ago and it's not relevant today. Use your content to serve and help others. Like I said, this webinar series is an exact example of that. I am using my knowledge to help other small business owners and nonprofits do one, stay busy, right? One, uplift you so that you know you can be encouraged that there are things that you can be doing in your marketing to help you a couple months down the road. How can you do that, and how can you serve others? But this is also not the time to go silent. It's just not necessarily the time to sell, and at least hard sell. There are people who still need to get their services out there and their products, but just remember you have to be sensitive about how you go about it. But don't go silent. Still be present, because people want to know that you're still working, you're still in business, your doors are open in whatever capacity they're open. I'm going to show you examples of how businesses are staying connected and delivering messages through social media. And again, it's a relationship building and continuing time through social media. Build and strengthen those relationships. It's time to share your knowledge if that's relevant to your industry. So, what type of content am I talking about? How are you continuing to do business? This is an example of our team. We're obviously all working remotely. But one, we're a fun group and we wanted to show people, hey, we're still working, we're still here we are. And we're still the same silly group that we always are. But people love seeing that. That gets great engagement. Anytime you do behind the scenes content, that gets tremendous support. Sharing your pets, sharing, how you go about your job, those types of that type of content is always relevant, but especially now, it also gives your current clients perspective of what you're doing while things are happening. So even if your doors are closed, what are you working on? What is coming? How are you doing? So it shows people that you're weathering the storm, you're staying connected, and you are still in business. Another thing you can do is show a lighter side, even a vulnerable side. Now, I'm not saying to go on a Facebook Live and share all your woes. We all know that this is an unsteady time. But if you can bring a smile to people's faces, then do that. Now, one of the things that I recommend off of your business page is not just to be sharing silly memes that don't make sense for your industry just to do that. You still want to stay professional, but this is an example of one that we shared because it's specific to our business, right? Day 4 of social distancing, struck up a conversation with a spider today. Seems nice. He's a web designer. Very clever, right? We do web development. Just something to make people laugh, something to connect with them. It had 9 shares. So if there's relevant memes, if there are things that make sense for your business that are just going to show a little lightheartedness, certainly put that into your current content strategy. We also went back and reshared a video that we did. And I'm actually going to show you a little bit more about why we repurposed this video and how we did that. But it was one of our most popular. And, what we did with this caption was we used it for the current situation. We feel like everyone needs a laugh right now. So we thought we'd reshare this blooper reel that they did of me. But also, I threw in a little thought leadership in this caption, saying, and also to encourage you to take advantage of your downtime to create some great content, including videos. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. That's what this blooper reel is showing. I'm not perfect in my videos, but I still do them. So it's a little bit of encouragement, it's a little bit of entertainment, but I'm also showing my thought leadership even during this downtime. Something else that you can do is go direct to camera with video messages. I love, love, love how Dan Levinson with Ellis Jewelers here in town always uses video. He did a great one showing himself washing his hands while he was in his store, letting people know that you can still shop online. Now that his doors are closed temporarily, here he is sitting in his backyard just saying, hey, I'm still here for you. And it's keeping him in people's feeds. We feel connected to our local businesses. We want everybody to feel successful, but you can still be present, be positive, share information if you can. But that's a wonderful way, and he's doing a great job staying connected with his customers, even when his doors are closed. I also included an example from Michael Hyatt. Now, granted, he is a much bigger entity than a lot of small businesses, but this is a great example of thought leadership and him saying, hey, let me share with you a word of confidence. We need leaders right now. So if you're somebody who has information that you can share, you can turn that into a blog, you can turn that into a Facebook Live, you can put together a webinar. I mean, those are great things that people are looking for right now. So how can you serve up some of your knowledge digitally that will help people through this current crisis? So just a couple examples of what some folks are doing. And then, like I said, focus on building relationships. Give more than usual away for free. Like I said, we do free webinars, but to do 6 of them over 6 weeks, I'm not going to lie, that's ambitious. But I knew that we were going to need to stay in front of people, make new connections. like I said, I've built these relationships already with these brand new chambers. I look forward to sharing with them some of my thought leadership, but more than anything, I saw an opportunity for me to share my knowledge with as many people as possible that could benefit from it and have their businesses move forward. And so, like I said, I used social media, I used my Facebook page, I used my email list to do all of those things and literally create this in 1 week. And so, like I said, these are just tools that you have in your toolbox to use to still continue to do business. And so I hope those examples can help you brainstorm through some things that you can be doing here over the short term. But also, what else you can be working on is things for later. I hear from small businesses and nonprofits all the time. I know what I'm supposed to do, I just don't have time. And I will tell you, there are a lot of people who have too much time right now, and we're not enjoying it, right? And I'm a small business owner. I'm having to figure out the stimulus bill that just got passed. I'm having to spend time, taking care of my employees and my kids who are home. And, there's a lot to do. But if you're not in the day to day running of your business, you may have some time to work on some of these projects for your digital marketing that you don't normally have. And so I've put together a few ideas for you here. I love what Mari Smith says, and I think this is something I follow. Is does it educate, entertain, or enlighten? If you can do those things, you'll be successful on social media. Now, not all of you are super entertaining. I get it. You might be, very strict professionals, but just know that that plays well on social media if you've got a lighter side. But at the end of the day, people are looking for education. They're looking to have a wow moment, to learn something. Just like today, you're giving me an hour of your time. I want to make sure you walk away from today and say, wow, that was a well spent hour that I just had with her. So a couple things that you can do: develop a lead magnet for your website. So if you don't know what a lead magnet is, you've probably downloaded one. It's when you go to a website and they have either an ebook or a checklist or a cheat sheet, and in order to get it, they ask for your email address. That's called gated content. It's a great, great, great way to grow your email list. Like I said, there's people who put those things for free on their website and just let people download them, but you have no idea who downloaded it. You have no way to keep in touch with them. And most people are willing to trade their email address for really good information. Notice I said really good information. So you need to develop something that is high quality. So ebooks can be, 2 pages to 50 pages. We've created a couple that are around 4, 5, 6 pages. A checklist can be a 1-page PDF download, a cheat sheet. Different tools that people can use in order to do something that you're trying to teach them how to do. I'm going to show you a couple examples down the road in this webinar. Also, you can be working on blogs and video series. And notice I use the word series. Think about, during this time, not writing a one-off blog article or one video, but what's a series of things that you could do where you can launch something for the month of June or the month of September? Kickstart something in September. I mean, think down the road, because you don't know what April's going to look like. Certainly, maybe not even May, maybe the summer, but certainly the fall, and maybe even the new year. Something that is we'll be back. We'll be back and we'll be working. But what are some series that you could put together? And what are those evergreen topics that you can turn into series that no matter what, that content's always going to be evergreen? And that means that it's not timely. It's not that, you're going to talk about spring break or something that has a definite date, and you're going to miss it if something stays closed. So think about your evergreen content. Think about a blog series that you could write. Think about blogs that you could write for a parallel industry. So if you're an accountant, can you partner with a financial planner and write a series for each other, share knowledge? Look at those partnerships that you can create, but use your thought leadership and put it out to somebody else's network. This is a time that we can work together more than ever. And like I said, even think about marketing for the holidays. A lot of people it's Thanksgiving and, or it's November and they're trying to think of their Black Friday sale. Think of it now. We're going to have Black Friday. We're going to have Thanksgiving. Think way ahead. Allow yourself to dream a little what things will look like, or at least sketch out ideas, that you can get started from. But look at from now until January, and how can you work on that entire editorial calendar for your business. So I hope that gives you some good content ideas. I wanted to move over a little bit into the actual Facebook platform. If you haven't seen this, I shared this a couple months ago. This is a sneak peek of some changes that they are working on the new Facebook newsfeed. For those of you that have mobile devices and you've actually seen the dark option where you can turn your background to black and everything's reversed, that is coming potentially to the desktop. I don't love it, I'll be honest, but I know my teenage boys used it for a little while. I don't know if they still are. But I always look at this as, where are Facebook's priorities? And I've highlighted a couple. And you can see first and foremost that groups is one of them. When you can look at Facebook's page and say, look at the placement that they've given groups, you can see that that's a big priority for them. And Mark Zuckerberg has said, groups is the future. He wants people to move into these living rooms, he calls for more meaningful conversations. And so, I've advised clients for the last several years to set up groups if that's relevant for your business. We are finding, especially with this crisis, people are diving into their groups right now to deliver content. The YMCA has been a longtime client of ours. They're delivering videos to their members when they can't come in the doors. They're doing it through their groups. So groups is really relevant. I'm going to briefly touch on groups, but I'm actually going to work on a full-blown workshop for groups because there's a lot of details to it. But I just think you should definitely think about how creating a group for your business might make sense. And the other big thing I notice here on the news feed is stories. Part of the reason that stories is so important is because it's placement. It's at the very top of the feed, right? It's the first thing that you see when you go to your feed. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about stories as well, but wanted to share this sneak peek of, the Facebook newsfeed. Now on your mobile phones, you may already have, it may already look like this. So you can again see that groups now plays a primary role in the navigation down here. And if you click on this groups icon, your feed will be all post to groups. So you're basically weeding out any feeds from business pages or from friends. And the only thing you're seeing is feeds to your groups. So think about how valuable that is. Do you have a group? Are you even in that feed? You can see me right here at the top, Social Media Success with Lisa Perry. That's my group because I want to be posting valuable content in there so that when people are on here, they're seeing my content. So that's what it looks like on a mobile phone. I also encourage you in this time to be active in groups. Having a group and posting as a group is great, but you actively participating in other groups is a great way for you to share a thought leadership, just your presence, your awareness. Just be careful that you always follow the group rules. A lot of groups say self-promotion is not accepted, although, like I said, with some of the trips that we share once a week, a lot of groups will say, okay, here's your post, put your self-promotion underneath it. And so that can be a way you can connect with people digitally, is by actively participating in relevant groups. Just a couple examples of groups. This is one that I love, that just came out of an idea from some realtor friends of mine, Team Honeycut. And it's not a group that is, here's homes for sale, because nobody's going to want to be part of that group, right? But living in Cabarrus County is, yes, we all live in Cabarrus County. And the thought behind this is, what are all the resources and fun things happening? Because, that's what we ask our realtor friends, because they're the ones most plugged in to what's happening in the community, right? And so they created this page, and you can see it has 1,000 members. And now it's a resource that people use when they want to promote things. And so the whole point of a group is for others to take it over, but the experts in this group is that team of realtors. And so, this is an area that they can show their expertise in, their thought leadership. Now, I always talk to realtors about not having every single post be, hey, have a home for sale. Tell me how to take care of my home. Tell me where to invest my money when I'm doing upgrades so the value of my home is higher. Those types of things. Those are the types of ways that you can show thought leadership within a group. But this is just a great example of how a business can create a group that then folks really want to be a part of. Like I mentioned before, Facebook is prioritizing posts to a group in a feed. And then the group post, they just show up more often than a business posting. So most business posts, which is called organic posts, are only going to reach about 1% of your audience unless you boost them. And so that's putting a little bit of money behind it. But even with boosting, now there's a lot of keywords that you can't use, that are sensitive because a lot of the security things that have happened. So sometimes boosts will even be rejected. So it gets tricky. But groups, like I said, is definitely a focus for Facebook. If you have the opportunity to create one, it's a good idea. This is an example, the Afton Village Restaurant Fan Club, that this was created about a week or so ago in response to the coronavirus, because the restaurants were suddenly struggling. And so this page was set up. You can see it already has 270 members. The folks were posting the menus for their favorite restaurants, encouraging support. So, what a wonderful resource to be able to fire up a group and get a group of businesses. Like, this is just an area of town, Afton Village, that really helps benefit those local restaurants and shops. So another example of a group. And then the other kind of cool thing you may not realize is that you can interact in groups as your business page or as yourself. I will tell you that personal is usually better. Like with my business, I am the face of the business. So, when I interact, people still connect to the business. But a lot of the times when we post as a business, that doesn't get as much reach as when it's a person. So you might want to think about having your employees all be members of the group and post of them as themselves, and have different roles within the group. That they post certain types of content or start certain conversations. But it is usually better personally, but you can still post as the business as well. So just a little bit about Facebook groups. Like I said, I'm going to have more training coming on groups as we go forward. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely keep in touch with us. The next thing, like I mentioned, that is still a huge priority with Facebook is stories. I love this graphic. I've shared it a couple times in my webinars because it shows the growth of stories. You can see Snapchat was the first one to use it, and it's kind of leveled off just because of their audiences, younger folks, those teenagers, my kids. But you can see the growth of Instagram, but then the surge from Facebook. So a lot of people still associate stories with Instagram and Snapchat, but Facebook actually has 500 million users a day on Facebook stories, and more people are going to that all the time. So I always tell small businesses, they're like, I hate stories. I mean, I don't love stories because it disappears too fast, and I'm like a slow reader. Um, but I always say, look where the people are. It doesn't matter what your choice of social media platform is, it's what is your audience or your ideal customer's choice. And if this is where the people are, then it's where your business should probably be. So I wanted to break down a little bit about Facebook stories, why use it. Like I mentioned before, it's at the very top of the feed. It's literally like getting in the headlines. So, do you want to be in the headlines, whether that's on Facebook or Instagram? I always try to tell people too, what you may not realize is that Facebook owns Instagram, and that's why they work so well together. So, you can actually push stories from Instagram to Facebook, which is a great time saver. I'm going to mention that again as we go through this. But people are just more and more swiping left through their stories, um, instead of swiping up through their feed. And they just like to click through and get that mini snapshot of information. But I highly encourage you to do quality stories. I see a lot of not quality stories in my feed, people who just plopped in a photo that's not sized correctly. If you're going to use them as a business, I recommend that you do them well, just like anything else in your business. So, but how do you get started with a story? There's a couple different ways. If you're on your personal account, usually your image has a little plus next to it. But as a business, you can see with one of our clients, Watt Cabarrus, it's actually down there by their logo, but there's always a plus sign next to it, and that's what you click on to start the story. It's much, much better to do stories on mobile because there are so many more bells and whistles available to you. Now, some of you might be, you prefer working on desktop. I get it. I do too. But I put my reading glasses on so I can see the tiny text, and I work my stories from my phone. But just an example of the difference in starting a story between personal and business. But these are both screenshots from my mobile device. So a little bit more information about what the basics are. To create the story, after you click that button, you're going to have something pop up where you can either change your profile picture, because that's the same place you do that, or you hit that top one that is create story. The icons in the bottom left, after you've selected an image, effects is just different kind of like coloring to your photo. Privacy is who you can share it to. You can actually, push it out to your entire feed, or you can limit who your stories go to. So if that's relevant for you, you can actually kind of control where your story goes. Another feature that I really like is that you can save it. So after you have a story done and you've got stickers and all these things, say you want to download that and use that somewhere else, you can actually save it to your camera as an image or as a video. So love that download button if you ever want to be able to use that somewhere else. In the upper right hand corner here, from left to right, the very first one is the most important one, which is your stickers. And that's all those little emojis and GIFs and mentions and hashtags. That's where all of that lives. The one right next to it is text. So if you want to just write like you are with a marker on it, you do that. The third one over is the drawing tool. So if you wanted to draw a heart or something, you could do that. And then the last one is a link. So you can actually put links into your stories as well. This is an example of the stickers. So you can see all the different options. I wanted to just highlight a couple. I actually have an online training for Instagram stories, and I talk a lot about engagement stickers being one of the best features that you can use in stories on either platform. Polls and questions are things that people can interact with your post on. And anytime somebody interacts with your post, that's great because they're interacting with your business. So this is an example of one that we used for Watt Cabarrus. Don't you love the new Watt Cabarrus t-shirts? And we didn't have yes or no. We had yes or heck yes. So both are positive. One is just a little more animated, but it just gets people to interact with us, to be excited about what we have going on instead of passive and just saying, having a picture of the shirt. We just wanted them to engage a little bit. The other cool thing about that is that you can then see your analytics on it. So you can see how many people voted each way. So if you're doing a poll, you could actually then share the results. If you had a contest or something where you wanted to know which one of these two things did you think was best, you can actually then share the results. I highlighted here that you do need to check your insights, because they're only available for a story for the last 28 days. So it's not like you can go on Facebook, you can go and look at a post from a year ago. You're only going to be able to look within the last 28 days. So it does take a little bit of discipline. On Instagram, it's only 14 days. So you really need a process when you're doing stories to go back and look at their performance. And so you want to make sure that you do that. But just a few little things on Facebook stories. I will tell you that my preferred method is actually to create stories on Instagram and then just share them to Facebook. I find that the Instagram platform has more bells and whistles. It's easier to work with. And then that way I knock two things out at once. I have an Instagram story and I have a Facebook story at the same time. And I love things that are time savers. You can see down here in the bottom corner, this is through the Instagram app, that you can actually, with that one click, publish it to both your Instagram and your Facebook story at the same time. So, like I said, that's something that I do have a webinar coming up on Instagram. There, I will dive into that more. I also, like I said, have an online course that you can take that walks you step by step through how to do stories. But it's just so important because so many people are using it. And so as a business, I really like to look at where the people are, and that's where the businesses need to be. The other thing I really like about doing the stories on Instagram is that you can develop these great highlights. So you can archive a story. A story is only available for 24 hours and then it disappears unless you archive it and then share it as a highlight. And I love these, especially the Gem Theater here locally. This is where you can find out all kinds of information for them on their profile, about their movies, their concessions, lots of really good things. So that's how you can get the most bang for your buck, whether you're doing stories on either platform. Want to move over into a couple best practices on Facebook. One of the things I see a lot is, and I'll try to put this super nicely, but just poorly laid out photos. A lot of people are not doing drafts of their posts and looking at them before they post. And so I really like this method of creating content that I want to share with you. So you may have noticed that you used to be able to, from your feed, just click on create post, and there was an option to save it as a draft. That option is no longer there for most profiles. Instead, they're pushing you over to publishing tools. So you can see that I was doing a sample post here for Watt Cabarrus, and I had 3 photos. Actually, I had 4 to start. And I'm very particular about how they display, especially if you have like one image that's landscape and then the 2 other are portrait. You're going to chop somebody's head off, or just not have that display very well unless you do a draft and take a look at it first. And so this in the bottom, you can actually click over to publishing tools, but you cannot save this post. The only option you have is to just post it then and there from the feed. So I recommend that you head over to publishing tools anytime you're creating a post, even if you're wanting to post it right away if you have multiple images. You can also access it from your menu bar. So up here where you have Ad Center, Manage Jobs, if you click on More, you can also get to Publishing Tools that way. And once you're in Publishing Tools, it looks like this. So this is where you can see all your published posts, your scheduled posts, and your drafts. So what I try to do is just head over to drafts and then click on this button up in the corner that says create. When you initiate a post that way, you'll have the draft the draft option to save it as a draft or to save it as a scheduled post. So this is the best practice as far as how you create your content for your Facebook feed. So I've done a few more screen captures here, and I just wanted to walk you through basically how I do a post. So I head over there to Publishing Tools. I upload my photos. So you can see I've got 4 different photos here that I want to be in this post. And I put in the starter of a caption. It doesn't even have to be the whole caption, because then I'm just going to save it as a draft. And then I'm going to open it up, and you're going to see this image to the right. That's what it's going to look like as far as the photos. Well, I don't love how that looks, because I really wanted the step count to be the center. And I love Meg's sweet dog here, but he's not really looking this way. So I think I might remove that picture. And so I go ahead and I click in edit, and then it opens up the panel. I can remove one of the pictures by clicking on the X. I can change my text, and then I can save it again, and it goes back into my drafts. And so this is another thing. So I'll sometimes do a post 4 times before I get the photos displayed exactly the way I want them to. And so take that kind of care when you're doing your posts. The other thing I really like about doing it this way is that you can preview it on desktop, but guess what else? You can also preview how it's going to look on mobile, because more and more people look at their social media from their smartphones than they do on their desktop. So make sure you look at your draft on both devices so you're sure that it's going to display right. So just a great way for you to think through how you do a post. Definitely use drafts just so you're sure that you're putting out the best possible content that you can. So I also wanted to spend a minute on Creator Studio. If I go back a couple slides, you'll notice that that's up here now. Manage all your posts in Creator Studio. Try it now. If you're like me, gosh, you just hate trying new things. I like it the way it is. I know where everything's at. What is this Creator Studio? I'm afraid of it, right? Not quite sure what to do with it. It's pretty loaded, I have to tell you. There's a whole lot in here. I'll be honest with you, I don't love all of it. But I wanted to show you a couple of the things that I do think are pretty cool in Creator Studio. So one of the things is that you can actually manage multiple pages through creator collections. And you can also get insights at a glance. So I just wanted to share a couple things with you on that. So if you happen to have multiple pages for your business or multiple businesses, the creator collection could be a great option for you. I use the YMCA as an example here because they have 3 branches, actually 6 now, but at the time, this is 3 of them. And say that I want to look at what I'm doing on all 3 of those branches at the same time. I can actually create a collection. And when I go into Creator Studio, you see there's page collections, and I can click on that. And then right from there, I can actually see all the drafts that I have scheduled for all those different branches. This is great for when we do campaigns for them and we want to make sure that they're all scheduled. Instead of going onto Facebook and going to each of the individual pages, logging into each of their publishing tools, checking the drafts, this is a way we can look at all of them at the same time. I mean, that's a huge time saver if you've got multiple pages and you can manage multiple pages at once. So that's one thing that's really good. I think in the Creator Studio. Another thing I really like is that you can batch upload multiple videos. So say you're going to get ready to do a series of videos, 1 or 2 a week. Instead of uploading those one at a time, you can actually go into Creator Studio, select all 4 at the same time, just let them upload, go do something else on your computer. You can even come back to those later and do posts for them, but at least this is a way that you can get them uploaded quickly and efficiently by batching them. Another thing I really like in Creator Studio is that you can look at the performance of your videos. And this is an example. We just recently did an election campaign for a local judge, and he had done several videos And we could look at the stats of all of those together and see, wow, this one performed the best, got the most engagement. Maybe because we were looking at which ones we might want to reshare as we got closer and closer to the campaign or the primary date. And so, this is a great way that we can go in and look at the comparison of all the stats on all the videos at the same time. And you'll remember earlier in the webinar, I mentioned that I had reshared my blooper video. This is part of where I went to see the stats on that because I wanted to look at all of my videos that I've done, what makes most sense. So I looked at the fact that, okay, this had 2,003-second views. It got the most engagement. Do I think that would make sense for right now? But what's really cool about videos within your content library is you can create a fresh post from that same video, and the video views actually are cumulative. So you can see that we ran this back in February of 2019. It reached about 3,000 people. It had 2,000 views. But what I can do is create a new post with this video. So not reshare the post because that's not relevant anymore. I mean, our conference is over. But I can use the same video, but create a new post with it. So when I click on that, it's gonna, sorry, Brian was just Brian was flagging me down for something. It's going to take you into this where you can actually create a brand new caption for it. So you can see that that's where I went and changed the caption from the previous time we ran it. I can change the tags. I can change the thumbnail. There's lots of different things I can do with this. And then when I come over here to my publishing options, I can either publish it now, schedule it, save it as a draft. But this is a fresh post, but the video, those 2,000 video views continue and will be added onto. And so, that's just a pretty cool thing for your video kind of authority, so to speak, that, if somebody goes and looks at your videos, they're going to see a lot of views on those high performing videos. Another thing that is kind of cool about the resharing is that you can actually make it a more targeted post. So under here, you can choose where it's going to appear. So using Judge Nate's video as an example, that was one of the first videos that we shared, but as we get closer and closer to the primary, we may want to narrow that audience that we want that video going out to. So because he was on the Republican ballot, we chose the interest of political party and specifically the Republican Party for that video to be reshared to, and then put some money behind that. But just some different features that you can use within Facebook that you may not realize. Like I said, I honestly learned that recently about the cumulative video views that I didn't know about that. A lot of people might have re-uploaded that video and made a whole new post, and then you're starting from 0 views. Whereas this way, you can keep those videos cumulative. And especially if you're testing out some different videos and you really want to use the most high performing one before you put budget behind it, and when like boosting a post or running it as an ad, that's a great way for you to test it out. And so you can see here, if somebody came to my company page and wanted to look at my videos, you can see that I now have 2.1 thousand views. So that's going to continue to grow as that new post that I did rolls out there and gets engaged with. So just an example of how you can use video in your marketing. The statistics, just to go back one slide, the statistics continue to show that videos get the best reach. And so I hope that videos are part of your marketing plan because of that reach. Again, that's just a focus for Facebook. One of the webinars that I have coming up is all about video. And it's not, that you have to go out and buy a $5,000 camera. I'm going to talk about all the programs and equipment that you can use to create videos on a budget. But we're going to cover anything and everything about how to do that. So I highly recommend that you join. Well, I highly recommend that you join me for all of the webinars, because they all are going to be packed with information. But that one in particular is one that you can use as you're thinking through this content. But I would encourage you even now to just jot down, those ideas for a video series. What could you talk about on video? What is that entertain, educate, enlighten formula for your business? That's what we really like to use when we do ours. So next, I wanted to move on. I always like to share some of my favorite tools, and Canva is definitely at the top of my list. I'm curious in the comments if you'll let me know how many of you use Canva, or how many people have never heard of Canva. Kind of let me know how many of you have actually ever heard of this program. It's a graphic design program, and even though I am married to a graphic designer, I frequently tell him Canva is going to put him out of business. Fortunately, he knows how to do lots of other things as well. So I see a mix of people, some folks who absolutely love it, some who've never heard of it. One person's still trying to figure it out, but lots of people, it seems like if you know of it, you love it. And I certainly love it. But it is absolutely by far my favorite tool. And I just kind of wanted to show you a few of the things that it does. It is free. Another reason to love it. There is a paid version that does give you a few more bells and whistles. Whistles. It allows our team to all share resources. So for us, that's worth it. But I think even the team version is not really expensive. But when you look at the cost to hire a graphic designer, if that's not in your budget, this can really help you create wonderful quality graphics. If I'm going to give you some advice, I still would say you want to create branded graphics. So while you can go into Canva and they have all these, great posts over here, Halloween sale, you still want the graphics that you create to look branded to you. So one of the things that I really love about Canva is that it's doing a lot of your homework for you. So when you initiate a design, you can actually go choose like Facebook post size, Facebook cover size, Instagram story size. That's going to be perfectly sized for that platform. So one of my biggest pet peeves is when I see images that aren't sized correctly on a platform. It just looks sloppy. But when yours are sized perfectly, it just gives a great first impression. So I love that Canva takes you having to think about what that size is out of the equation, and you can just say, hey, I want to do a Facebook post. Let me click on this and start my design. The other thing I really like is that you can actually put your colors in, so you can get your hex colors, and that way you're always pulling from your palette of colors. So even these designs over here, you can customize those. So you might be able to choose the social distancing one, but change the orange to your purple so that it looks branded to you. Same thing with your fonts. I try to always use the same 2 fonts, 2 or 3. This Lisa Perry one is called Play Bill, I believe, Bri, is that right? And then the other one is this Aramo. So I try to always use the same fonts so that it looks very branded to me. But those are just a few of the things I really like that Canva includes. There is a URL here, and Brian already put it up there. He's on it. See what I mean about him always having my back?
But if you've got some free time, I recommend that you go to design school with Canva, and kind of go through that training. But it's just such a fun program. You're able to download directly from there, and then upload your graphics. So a tool that everybody in our business uses every single day. So I hope that that will be something that you can use. Some other resources I mentioned earlier in the webinar, creating some gated content. This is an example of that. Both of these live on our website and or are emailed out to people on our email list. The Ultimate Emoji Cheat Sheet is a 9-page document that we put together that is all about all things emoji. If you've ever had emoji envy of other people's posts, like how do they come up with all those cute emojis, this walks you through exactly how to do that. But if you're going to download that from our website, you enter your email first, and that's how we grow our email list and continue to offer those types of resources. And the other one is the month ahead, which is a monthly 6-page document that we put out. Usually, like if it's April's, we try to put it out mid-March. And it's got all kinds of ideas and inspiration for your digital marketing. This is, again, something free that we offer as a perk for people on our email list, but we also use it as that gated content on our website. So if somebody finds us and they want that resource, they get added to our email address. And guess what? Both of those were created in Canva by Kayla on our staff. She does a great job with these. So you can see they look professional, they look branded. Great, great things that you can create for your business and then grow your email list. I mentioned earlier about Instagram stories. Like I said, this was totally focused on Facebook. However, stories just in general is so important to me right now. That's why the first course that I created was on Instagram Stories 101. I think that, having a great Instagram profile with those great highlights on it requires you to know and do stories. And so, but a lot of the people that we work with, it's been a bit of a learning curve. Stories, our kids can do them in their sleep. Tech savvy people who love to create can do them, but this is a bit of a learning curve for some people. So definitely, if you are at this time where you're uncertain, it's always a good time to learn something new. So whether you go to the Canva design school, whether you pay the $97 and take our online course, I highly encourage you, learn a skill that's going to help you 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, do your social media better. And it's a great time to evaluate your platforms. Like I said, this is something we worked really hard for. It is step-by-step modules with training videos, so you can go at your own pace. Some people might need to rewatch that one about location tags 3 times, but you have the time to do that with an online course like this. We include tons of examples for inspiration, just like our presentation today. I love sharing things that other people do that might inspire you. Like I said, we are offering a discount on this. So for less than $100, you can take our online course and get up to speed on how to do stories. Really, really want to encourage you to join my Facebook group. I plan on jumping in here more and more often just to answer digital marketing questions. You're welcome to post questions in there for me and my team. Somebody will respond. You're welcome to share some of your campaigns that you're working on. This is just a place to stay connected with me. I would love to have you go over there and, like I said, just connect with me and connect with each other. That's part of what groups are for, not just for the group owner, but for the group members to help and support each other. So, we've set this up so that we can find social media success together. Also, if you've, again, got some free time, we included a link to my other 2 webinars that we've done this year. I just did one last week. I called it Marketing Madness. I am a huge, huge March Madness fan, so it was heartbreaking to not have my basketball tournament going on this year. So I decided to do a webinar instead. Some of that, one of the things I really liked about that webinar is I talked about your website and a little bit of an audit that you can do on your website during this time as well. So, that's worth watching just for that. And, I went back and looked at the social media trends one that I did back in January with the Cabarrus Regional Chamber, and there was lots of good stuff in there too. So as you have this time on your hands, these are just a few more resources of things that you can watch and get information on. So that's a link to those. So I invite you today, you've spent an hour with me, a little over an hour. What do you do from here? You can say, yes, I'm still watching. Stop judging me, Netflix. You can binge watch all that stuff. Believe me, I wish I was sitting on my couch having a staycation, but we can't, right? We have to keep doing business. So I encourage you to take the information that you have, to join me over the next 5 weeks to develop binge-worthy content for your business. Doesn't that sound better than a Netflix binge? Don't worry, I'm still binging a little on the weekend. But I truly hope that this was a good hour of your time. For those of you that are new to me, I welcome you to the Perry family. Like I said, we do our best to provide resources. If you find the need for our services, this is just some of the ways that you can reach out to us. But like I said, thank you so very much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you over in the Facebook group and continuing the conversation. You will receive a survey from us this afternoon. Please take that. Let me know how the webinar was helpful, if there were things that you'd like to hear, and other topics that you might want to see. So please take that survey, and then you'll also get the link to the replay and to the slide deck. So like I said, wishing you the best. Thank you again for spending your time with me today, and I look forward to connecting with you more over the next few weeks.